Good morning. I'm Nick May with Walls by Design, and you have joined me for Coffee with Nick. One of the stories I get into sometimes, telling customers about how we got into the cabinet painting business. We've been in business for 26 years, but I thought I would share this morning on how we got into cabinet painting, and ultimately we built a reputation so strong for cabinet painting that people don't even realize sometimes that we paint walls, even though the name of our company is Walls by Design. So let me take you back. Let's go back about 12 years ago. Um, 12 years ago, I hated painting cabinets because I didn't have a process for it. And I think at that point, maybe I'd only painted maybe two sets of cabinets. And they were probably already painted cabinets, and somebody just wanted me to paint them again. And I literally remember being in the kitchen with drop cloths on the floor and hand painting all of the cabinet doors myself. They probably turned out absolutely horribly. I didn't like doing it. And so when we started to see the trend of, the white kitchen look, really start to be prevalent on Instagram and the shelter magazines, being like 5280 or Color Homes and Lifestyles or any of those popular magazines here in Denver that homeowners would typically go for inspiration. And then the home shows on television, fix and flips and all those kinds of things. I just knew that trend was coming. And then we started to get the requests, for pricing out. And so I think we had done maybe one or two sets, and I had a friend out in, well, he wasn't a friend at the time actually. I saw this guy on LinkedIn sharing videos about painting cabinets, and I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, John," his name is John Shear. I said, "John, could I come up and take a look at your operations and see what you guys are doing?" And he said, "Yeah, come on up." So I took a couple of days. I flew up to Seattle, Washington, and he had a shop where they were spraying their doors and then bringing them back to the house. And it was eye opening to me that someone already had that process going. I came back to Denver, and I was just working out of my house at the time. It wasn't even this house; it was our old house, smaller house. Definitely did not have room to bring them anywhere, to spray. And so historically, Walls by Design has always run trailers. Ever since I was in college, that's what it just made sense to me to put stuff in trailers, leave them at the job site. I was helping a friend move, and another friend of ours had a box truck, and so we were moving stuff with his box truck. We took the last load of furniture into the house, and I remember standing in the box truck, and I thought this would be perfect. This is all the space we need, and then I just kind of mulled over that, went to the internet, looked at how expensive trucks would be, and I was like, oh my gosh, that would be really expensive. We could only have one. But I'd always ran trailers. And so I thought, I wonder, let me see if I could go find like the cheapest, trailer, like 18 or 20-foot trailer that I could find. And I thought if I put a wall in, create a space to spray the cabinets, and then the back end could just be a big closet where we hang them, that could potentially work pretty well. So we'd already booked a cabinet project by the time I bought this trailer. And this was over, I want to say this was right around the holidays, the Christmas holiday. We had a homeowner we had worked for before, and she wanted her kitchen. She had a big kitchen. She lived in Bomar, if you know where Bomar is, so big sprawling ranches for the most part in that neighborhood. And so we'd had this project booked over the holidays for like 2 weeks. And I went out of town, but I dropped off the trailer and I said, Dustin, I hope this is, better than tenting off an area in the house and doing what we've done on the last, I don't know, I think we'd only done maybe two kitchens or something like that. And it ended up taking, I think, only 7 days when I had it, marked for 10 days or longer than that. I don't know. It was a huge difference. And Dustin, came back to me and he was like, Nick, this was amazing. It's so much better. He's like, we're not quite dialed in yet. We were still working on kind of wonky, spray equipment and kind of a hodgepodge of stuff to apply it, but the process was so much better. So then I thought, well, if we're really going to do this right, I should just invest in some really good equipment. And so at that point, we ditched our makeshift, um, I think they're called pot guns, buy a compressor and put, this gun that has a small pot on it, and that's what we were spraying with. And so we transitioned over to HVLP. It's a fine finish piece of equipment, and so that when we jumped to that piece of equipment, that was the next big shift for us. So now we were efficient, and we were able to control the application in such a much better way. Now it took us probably a year to really understand that equipment. It would have been nice if we would have been able to go to a class or something, but we did figure out how to use it. But then over the course of the year, we didn't really know how to maintain it really well. So guns were breaking down. I remember we brought our rep in from Titan, and we were showing him the guns, and he was just like appalled, at the lack of maintenance we were doing and cleaning. And anyways, he showed us how to take them apart correctly and clean them. And so it was just a big, transformation for us. But as we went, we were diving into. A lot of people were doing a lot of different things at the time, different products and whatnot. And what I wanted, when I decided on a system, was it needed to be easy to obtain. There's a lot of systems out there you have to mail order that come in from overseas, or you got to get them from a distributor from out of town. And what I didn't like about that is, what if we ran out, or how do you offer unlimited colors? And so I really wanted to use a product that was make ready off the shelf. The other thing I wanted a low VOC, and a product that I didn't have to worry about either my guys being exposed to it, or how do we clean up after this stuff, right? So there are some products, and I get these questions. There are some products out in the market that are more cabinet manufacturing grade, but the problem is how do you can't put that stuff down the sink. You can't, like, how do you clean that stuff? And so we decided we were going to just stick with Benjamin Moore's product, Advance, and it's been a great product for us. Does it chip? Yeah, it chips. I think almost anything does, though. But the problem with the two-part products, like epoxies, think, part A and part B, and I've heard this from friends, it's a difficult system. It's not easy to do correctly. And if you get the mixture wrong just a little bit, then you're going to have failure. And I've had friends come to me and say, Nick, what do you do when you have a major failure? And I said, well, it doesn't happen very often, but and we've painted more kitchens than anybody. So the percentage of failure that we've had has been super, super low. But here's what I've told them. I said, I just went back to Benjamin Moore and said, hey, we had a problem with this product. I need you to help me repaint it. I think that's happened twice. And that happened that was during the COVID, period, when we didn't have access to the right amount of product. And so there were shortages. And so we were told to substitute Advance with another product. And it just wasn't as good of a product. It wasn't horrible. Like, I would say we had maybe 40% more failure on those two kitchens that I repainted. But we stood behind it. Now, the early days, when we had warranty issues, that was application problems. And so probably in the first 2 to 3 years, we ended up repainting maybe 2 or 3 kitchens that weren't prepped right. We had made, paint was peeling off. I think I still have one of those bad reviews on our Google listing about peeling paint. I remember I told the guy, hey, if we fix all this, would you take that bad review down? And he never did, but he told me he was going to. Anyways, but then the other thing I think that we ended up having to repaint, this all kind of goes under our warranty, because we give a lifetime warranty, and people can't believe that we do that. We ended up repainting kitchens because of the oak grain. And I went over our process for oak on our pricing video that I've just put up, and so you can go back and watch that one. But we didn't understand why we were getting that problem, and so we ended up, I think, repainting 2 or 3 kitchens because they just weren't happy. They didn't believe us that we had already put multiple coats on. They thought we skipped steps. So that goes to show you really have to have a good process, and you have to understand what you're doing. And when you go with somebody that's new in business or they don't specialize in cabinet painting, they're going to make some of these mistakes, and the quality might not necessarily be there, and they're probably not going to come back and repaint. So at this point in our journey of painting cabinets, we've been doing cabinets for 12 plus years now. Seriously, 12 years. We've been in business for 26 years, and we pretty much don't end up having to repaint kitchens. Now, I went to a kitchen the other day, and I was unhappy with we had some kick plate issues and some doors that were light, and we're going to go back and repaint those. But that doesn't happen very often. Sometimes it's a lighting issue because obviously all of our kitchens are inspected by our customers before we leave. But we do stand behind our process. But that hopefully helps you understand how we kind of got into kitchen cabinet painting and why we have such a strong reputation. Things that people really like about using us for cabinet painting, and this is all by design, really. They love the fact that we bring a 20-foot trailer to their house and we paint everything right then and there. And I don't have to take over their kitchen. They don't have to take over their garage or tent off an area. We don't have to. Now, if they want fully sprayed cabinet boxes, we can do that. And then we have to tent off the kitchen. But people really like the fact that I don't, for the most part, have to take cabinets offsite. Now, if someone's in a condo or there is not room in their neighborhood because of HOA or whatever, we can do cabinets offsite. But our preference is to bring the 20-foot trailer right to the house and paint them right then and there. And that really helps us be super efficient. I mean, think about it. If we don't have to set up a tent booth every time, those are hours that we're able to just go straight into prepping the cabinets. So on day one, we're taking down all the doors, and pretty much within 4 hours, we're out in our trailer sanding and trying to prep doors. Whereas the average painting company that does cabinets, they're spending the first day, it might be 2 guys, um, taping off and prepping a kitchen. We typically do most of our kitchens with just one person, and we get them done in the same amount of time as companies that are bringing 2 and 3 people out. And I know this because I've seen time lapses from other cabinet painters that I know, and adding up the hours that it takes to do, kind of the average kitchen. So our process is super efficient. So A, people love that we bring a 20-foot trailer. B, people don't necessarily talk about our lifetime warranty very much. I think they believe that most things aren't going to fail, but I do believe that it's super important that you have a warranty and with whoever you're working with. But our lifetime touch-up program, the fact that we will come back and do the small touch-ups, freshen up some corners, and that's typically what it is. It's touching up, it's fine-tuning. Think about how much you touch your kitchen, and I don't care what product you put on there. Even the most durable products are going to scuff. They're going to chip. You're going to bang stuff up against it, and they're going to need to be either touched up or repainted or something like that. But most people won't do that. And we do. I remember just a couple of weeks ago, I talked to a customer. We had painted their kitchen 8 years ago, and they don't have us out every year. They have us out every, I think it was like every 2 or 3. I told them to have us out more often. I'd much rather come out and do just small little touch-ups. I have a touch-up today that we're going to go to. They had a few touch-ups on cabinets, but then they have a handrail. Handrails get abused, and they must have small kids because they have a ton of touch-ups. And I know that their project was done in 2021, and I have not seen a touch-up appointment in our system for them yet. So I don't think that they've had us do touch-ups yet. And so I just recommended them do touch-ups a little bit more frequently, so we don't have quite as many touch-ups. But yeah, customers love the fact that we do our lifetime touch-ups, and I love coming back and seeing customers again. And it gives me an opportunity to see how our product has held up, to reconnect with our customer, and just make sure that that kitchen, is looking great and staying fresh. So yeah, that's a little bit about Walls by Design and how we got into cabinet painting. I mean, honestly, we've probably painted over 4,000 kitchens, but at this point, it might be over 5,000. I don't know. But there was a point in time during COVID we were doing. I I want to say maybe we were doing between 35 and 40 kitchens a month. So we've done a lot more kitchens than most people in the country, and definitely more kitchens than probably anybody else in Denver, just by sheer volume. So I'm Nick with Walls by Design. Thanks for joining me for coffee.